Hi, my name is Joselin. I am the CEO of LITBeL Consulting, LITBEL. It stands for Life is to be Lived. I'm also the co-founder of Boston Tweetup, which is a new media and event planning promotional service here in the Boston area. And LITBeL Consulting is all about digital marketing for brands, primarily personal brands, to best leverage both social media as well as technology, merge those two to enhance the brand.
Hello, my friend.
Hi,
I've known you for so many years. The first time I ever saw you, I mean, mind you, many years ago, you were on stage and I finally met my match of a person that had high energy, like so crazy high energy. So tell me about, when did you start this company and why did you start this company?
I started it in about 1999, 2000. I started it because I was in college and I was working for a company called Gillette. You might have heard of it. Best a man could get. And I was part of an organization called Inroads. And Inroads takes the top 5% of people of color and minorities in the area and puts them in a corporate environment so that after 4 years of college education, they would ideally go into that corporation. So while I was there, I met the corporate sponsor, who was the chief financial officer at Gillette. And I worked at corporate headquarters, which was in the Prudential. And I did such a good job there that the executives started to ask me to do jobs in their house, like setting up their network, things like that. So primarily it started off with just technology, setting up home computers and networks and things like that. But as technology evolved and social media evolved, it became much more of a social media-based agency that helps individuals and brands best leverage social media and marketing, because marketing came very easy to me. So that's the genesis of it all. It started off with just setting up computers in the house and going from there.
But talk about the pivot where it went from setting up a computer, but then you're now doing social media. I mean, there was like a marketing and social media and didn't connect for quite some time. And so I know you didn't start it just 5 years ago, where social media is a whole entire mass. So where was that? Where did it meet?
Well, what happened was that because of technology evolving, in about 2007, that's when Twitter launched. And that's when things changed dramatically. So what I was doing is I was pivoting at the time, and I was pivoting towards doing more website development. And then from there, I started doing internet marketing. So internet marketing precedes social media marketing. And the way it does that is we were setting up basic websites that would sell ebooks. And those ebooks would generate money, and we would learn how to get ranked on Google to promote the books that we were promoting and all the things that we were promoting on our little micro website. And then when Twitter came about, it became a vehicle to promote that particular website. So once we initially started becoming familiar with Twitter, we started using it to send links to the website. And we noticed that from an SEO standpoint, social media sites used to get ranked very, very rapidly. So I was looking at it from more of a technical perspective versus now where it's more of a marketing perspective. It's the combination of both marketing and technology. So I was looking at it from more promotional tool. But then I started looking at the social element of it all. And that's when I transitioned in about 2007, 2008. And what happened is I used to look for people asking questions about social media, and I wanted to be known for social media, so I would just answer the questions proactively. And if I didn't know the answer, I would just go on Google, find the answer, and give them the answer. So within a month or so, I really became known for social media marketing simply because I just looked up the answer that people were asking on. At that time, it was Twitter, but all social networks are pretty much the same. So that's when it started really clicking my mindset that that's a very big value add to brands, because most people, they didn't make the time to search for answers. So because I love technology and I started to get really into marketing, I really started realizing that not that many people knew how to do this. So I just did it, and I became very well known. And one of the other things that happened during that time frame, 2007, more so 2008 and 2009, was that a lot of people used to say two fundamental things. Everyone could do social media because it was easy. That wasn't true, and that's still not true today.
Oh, exactly.
And two is that everyone talked about networking and going to different events. So this is when I started Boston Tweet Up, because I'm like, okay, I wanted to go meet all these fantastic people that I'm having conversations with online. Why don't I meet them face to face in a kind of a very casual setting and really build that relationship? So that's when I started to go to 2 to 3 events a day. And then I started realizing that not that many people went to events. So I created a calendar and I started promoting these events. And then from there, Boston Tweet Up came about. And that became something very popular because not that many people knew how to leverage social media and going to events, or just going to events or organizing events. So it kind of, both of these two things kind of evolved organically based off of what was happening in the industry.
Well, the good thing about the events that you're posting, and I think that people take it for granted, is that we live in Boston. There's so many different events that are happening, and you're just overrun. I mean, I come from the governmental, I come from the media, and I come from the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Three ecosystems that do so many things, but you're really good about curating the right ones to be seen, to be known, and to get the most value. So I think that's one of the things that's worked really well with the Boston Tweet Up, where there's so much research that you do to find the right ones for the target audience.
Yeah, one of the things that I wanted to focus on primarily is career development or community development events. Because I didn't really want to promote like knitting and drinking events and all these other things, because there's so much, as you mentioned, in Boston to promote. I wanted to focus more on kind of the community development and the business development and career development type of events. So that's always been kind of like the niche. There's a lot of startups. So there's people that just focus on startup events. So Venture Fizz and Greenhorn Connect. Greenhorn Connect is a network of people that are in college and helping those guys and gals look for businesses so that they could work in, or startups that they could become a part of. So it's mostly geared for college students. And Venture Fizz is more about startups in general. And then there's the Boston Calendar, which is all about all these random events. And I didn't want to do one thing or not. I wanted to focus primarily on these very specific niche of like career development, community things, people that or organizers that are focused on developing this kind of community. I particularly like showcasing events that aren't on people's radar. I like to discover events. I remember going to one of the first WordPress events, I think it was in January, and there was 5 people there, and one of them was me. So it was 4 people. However, I helped promote that event, and then in that summer, they were one of the largest WordPress conferences in the city of Boston, if not the world. So it was cool to kind of discover that kind of thing happening in Boston. And it's good to see organizers kind of work together to create even bigger events. So I'm all about community development and brand development. It's all kind of the same kind of thing. So with LITBeL, I do more digital brand development. And with Boston Tweet Up, I do more of the offline development of people and connecting people together.
You just said a key word of connecting people together. We're living in a world right now where we're not connecting in the traditional way. People want to see each other. People want to be at events. They want to find ways to really just like form those relationships. And right now they're not able to. So because of the pandemic, how has your business evolved? How has it changed? What are you coming up that's creatively different than what you've done in the past?
Ironically enough, this lockdown didn't affect my day-to-day other than the going to events. I'm actually busier now because it's digital marketing, and a lot of these brands that should have had a social media strategy or marketing strategy or digital strategy before need to do it in order to survive. For example, restaurants should have had a delivery service years ago, or before this. Now they have to in order to stay in business. So helping those brands transition has become very vital. I'm mostly focusing now on coaches and brands and things of that nature. So it's becoming very essential to develop a digital strategy. So being very knowledgeable on what is happening in this environment becomes very important, because you just can't send anything out anymore. You have to be cognizant of using things like viral marketing, because we're dealing with the pandemic that has to do with the virus. So you got to be sensitive to that. So from my perspective, things have gotten busier because I do digital marketing, and now it's allowed me to be more selective on who becomes a client, because my skill sets allow me to help a variety of different individuals and different brands. So now I could be a little bit more selective, if anything. So it's worked out kind of to my advantage, the lockdown situation. So it hasn't changed my day-to-day. I generally don't go out as much other than going to the grocery store anyway. The events that I used to go to, a lot of them are doing webinars. A lot of them are going digital. So helping those brands transition into digital becomes, very important. So that's the essence of it all, for me at least. I've been fortunate that it's a very interesting niche of being digital marketing, because I could work from anywhere and I could help clients from anywhere, and clients could outreach to their prospects essentially from anywhere.
So what do you say to those small businesses that are not able to, they don't know how to do digital. They didn't have the storefronts where they could just walk in. I mean, someone could just get a delivery. There's a lot of stores that are still closed right now because they can't get out of their own way. It's not that they don't want to, they just don't know. They don't have that skill set to have that extra leg of creativity to keep their businesses open. So their doors have been closed for 8 weeks. What are the steps, so 2 or 3 steps that people should be doing right now that have been creative, and what are 2 or 3 steps that for people that have not been creative at all, but they're going to open up and they don't know what they're going to open up to?
Okay, so for those brands for anyone, starting off here, find out what you can offer that people need immediately. And some folks need to transition. I know a print shop, for example, that doesn't have a lot of working staff. So the CEO is, instead of printing T-shirts, they're printing things for the medical professionals. The first line of defense. So that's something. So figure out what is it that your business does, and how could you help the people in most in need, or how could you help create some sort of transition. For example, there's people that set up baskets, food baskets and things like that. And what they do is they're the conduit. They go to different restaurants. They'll buy food from a particular restaurant. You buy a gift card to that business. And what they do is they go to restaurants, use that gift card at the restaurant, and then that restaurant what they do is take the food from the restaurant and goes to the medical professionals and the people at the front lines. So they've created a business that way. So it's figuring out what you have that could help. That's number one. A business is there to help someone. So then number 2, if you have something that you could directly do, then do that directly. Now figure out what the digital strategy is, meaning that how could you make it easy for your people that want to get involved to invest in your service so that you could do what you need to do. That could be, at the very basic, do a crowdfunding strategy with a variety of different tools out there that allow you to just set up some crowdfunding. So instead of it going to you, it goes to that funding site, and that funds your initiative as a whole. Kickstarter, for example, is one. So the other thing is, you can set up a PayPal account and get some money there for your services and go that route. If you have some sort of, other e-commerce engine, you could do that. There are things like, how can you create a mask? Maybe you can make masks with your supplies. So it's really understanding your business, what you can leverage, and creating a digital strategy. There's a lot of opportunities out here. If you need to have a session, definitely, because if you're coming in from Jodi, just send them to me. I'll have like a 15-minute session with you, create a digital strategy. You'll be good to go. It's not difficult, but use this time. Also, what you could do is educate your consumer. Create online videos, whether you're on Facebook.
That's the one that I love.
Twitter.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I mean, I'm so happy about that one because I think that people are like working so hard to try to figure out how to keep their business open. And if their doors aren't open, they're not realizing this is a perfect opportunity to learn something to grow your company.
Exactly. So what you could do is educate your consumer on how to best leverage your product, even if it's creating, sharing some recipes, not all your secret recipes, but if your restaurant, sharing some recipes on how to make a drink. A lot of people are drinking. Sales for alcohol have gone out dramatically. How to best, maximize the things that you sell them. For example, if you're selling like filters, fans, whatever it is, how to clean them, how to maintain them, you have all this time. You could use your computer, your phone, just to create all this video content. The content doesn't even have to be that long. It can be less than 5 minutes. I know a lot of people are creating funny animated videos, putting them on TikTok with some music stuff. So this is a chance to really be creative and to develop additional skill sets to grow your brand that you're going to use regardless of the current situation. You're going to be able to use it years from now as well. Because once you create content, and this is the beautiful thing about digital marketing, social media marketing, internet marketing in general, is that once you create the content, you could use it forever, right? So unless you delete it, it's there. So you could just be creating a daily piece of content every day, or weekly, whatever it is. Get on a schedule. At first it's going to be difficult, but then add on to it. The other big thing is that
people are so overwhelmed by that, because when you're saying create content, people are so overwhelmed with marketing in itself, and now you're telling them to create content. It is all around them, but like, what are the things? I mean, what is content? I mean, we know what it is, but for someone that has no idea about their marketing, I mean, what is a basic piece of content that they can actually create that could be used over and over and over again?
Yeah, so one of the big things that is a good segue, because I'm about to say this, which is ask your customers what they want. Number one, what do they want to hear from? What kind of content do they want to know about? That's where I would start. It's figuring out, instead of trying to guess what to give them, just say, hey, I'm thinking about creating something. What do you want me to create? List it below, comment below, and then I'll just create it for you. You know what I mean? So in regards to content, how to do what it is that you provide. It's the most basic content, the most viral content, it's the most accepted content, is how to do something, how to do something close to your skill set. That is probably one of the easiest things to create, because you're in business, because you have a certain skill set. So they might not be the expert, your consumer might not be the expert in it. And that's why they go to you. And in the interim, like for example, if you're a hair salon or something like that, how do you select colors? How do you maintain it before you treatments, things like that. If you're in the service industry, a lot of this how to maintain becomes very valuable, Then there could be something like, if you're not good with video, maybe you're a good writer. Maybe you create a nice little ebook. You could go to a service called Fiverr and hire someone to create a video for you. So you don't necessarily have to put the pressure on yourself to create this content, but there is content that your consumers want and have been wanting for a long time. You just might need to just ask them. So let me just go back to Fiverr. The reason why it's called Fiverr.com is because they just charge $5 for you to create a video, content, or anything else, and there's some interesting resources online for you to create digital content, or content that you could share on digital. So if you're an author, for example, you could be creating content for your book. a free chapter summary, a little workbook, those types of things. Nurture that audience now that they're captured. Your audience is at home waiting and thirsty for all this content. They have nothing else to do. They have, other than the regular chores or, homeschooling, things like that. They need some sort of release. So give it to them. Create something funny, a little something serious. But start with just asking your audience on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn even, what they want. And then you start creating it little by little, and they'll keep giving you feedback, So it might sound daunting at first just because you haven't done it, but it's almost like a road trip, right? The first time you take a road trip, it's going to be longer, but then you start doing it 2, 3 or 4 times, then you could almost do it blindfolded.
Great.
So
that's a great analogy. I do like that one.
Yeah.
You go to events, you're always asked to be a speaker all over the world. I mean, you're travel, when you do travel, it's large. I mean, you're at these big conferences and you bring a lot of energy to the room. What do you think that conference will look like when we roll back into a new normal?
I don't know. I don't know if conferences are going to be the same. I think a lot of major conferences were already doing this. I've always promoted this, ironically enough, for the last at least 3 years, of creating a virtual session or streaming the conference. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more streamed content with free or paid. The free stuff is probably the main sessions, and then the paid are probably one-on-one group sessions or things like that. So I'm not sure if there's going to be a normal like we had before anymore because of situations like this. So I think that it's just going to go more digital. I think video is going to be supreme, so that we don't have to travel as much. If there are people going to events, might be going to a community center, and a group of people, less than 10 or whatever, are going to be in a room all watching it together. And then what happens after that is those people will have little workshops after the conference of doing the things that they just learned. I think that might rise. We're having a lot of these Zoom conferences with corporations, but I think there's going to be a lot more if there's going to be a physical presence where it's just one Zoom with 5 to 10 people in the room, and then after the session, people are going to get together. One interesting point is that when I was at IBM in college, right after college, I was in e-learning. So this is why I'm always fascinated about video and learning and education and content. There was a 4-tier learning model. And the first tier is learning by information. So that's without technology, and that's like Yellow Pages type of stuff. So you just need to know the information right away. The next type of learning is learning by simulation. So that's Minecraft and SimCity and things like that, where there's no instructions and you kind of figure it out. And that's independent of a person. It's just you and technology. The third is what we're doing now is live, but in co-locations, so that's like Twitter. So you're live at the same time, but in different locations. And then the traditional form is learn face-to-face, and that's traditional classroom. The best type of learning that we discovered is this blended solution where you incorporate all elements of those types of things. So then, going back to answering your question, what might happen is that there could be a lot of pre-conference content that's digital. Then, once you go to the conference, you go specifically to those sessions that you really need in a smaller group of other people that have gone through the same stages as you. And it's a lot more informative. Then when you go back home, you continue your education and you continue that connectivity with other people that you met, back home. So I think it's going to be extended. It's not going to be like a one-time only kind of conference. I think there's going to be a lot of pre-stuff that you do before the conference and a longer lasting post-conference. Because what happens after most conferences is engagement goes down. And I think because we're all digital, we're going to keep that engagement high.
Well, you know what? This is the biggest question where I've been on a couple of panels virtually. I have clients overseas, so being virtually doesn't bother me at all. But boy, oh boy, am I hearing the word Zoom fatigue. I'm Zoom fatigue. I'm online fatigue. We are used to it, but the masses are not. Even when Zoom got all the attention, the creator said it like, this wasn't ready. This was not designed for years and years and years of, so many people using the product. So what do you say for that? I mean, before I ask my last question, what would you say in regards to individuals that are so fatigued with this way of life right now?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think that organizers of Zoom events need to be more creative and create free content and post content. I think it goes back to the conference mentality. It's almost like going to a bunch of conferences. I got saturated. I got, conference fatigue going for so many. And the only reason why I got fatigued, and I think the primary reason why people are getting fatigued with Zoom is because the organizers just checked off that they did Zoom. They didn't, however, create an engagement level, an interest level. They need to look at what is interesting about the Zoom part. How do you maximize the time frame? How do you create that level of engagement that you would do in a traditional classroom, things like that? Maybe keeping it shorter, getting it more engaged, getting it right to the point, and moving on, and creating kind of after Zoom events and then pre-Zoom events and things like that. So I think that this happens with events as well. It's the same formula. People are using the same formula. So people need to switch up the way they do things, okay? You get the ball rolling. Everybody knows how to use Zoom. What could you do extra? Could you do the questions? Could you do the polls? How could you cut it down? What could you do, like mini Zooms in addition to, the mega Zoom? So there's things like that. A lot of it is just creativity, having them left, making them more special, bringing that. It's almost like dating, bringing back the romance to Zoom. I think we're saturated. We keep doing the same thing. We keep going to the same restaurants. We keep going to the same date night. You got to switch it up. I think that's the essence of this all, of all digital.
I adore you. You're the best. Last question is, what's the ask? I mean, so if you had to put something out there to the universe, to someone getting to know who you are, what you do, something to help the audience out there, what's the ask that you'd like to put out?
Really do what you do best, outsource the rest. To me, that's the emphasis of my business, Focus on your gift. Only 3% of the world could do what you do naturally. So do that. What I do is I enhance that. I give you a digital and technological foundation so that you can focus on what you really love to do. I think so many people now are realizing that they could do more than just work the 9 to 5. For some people, that's great. And I'm not really condemning any type of, path at all. But this is a great opportunity for people to go on their own and to establish their own brand and their own expertise. And I think for those people, I'm willing to help those people enhance their skill set and really establish their own empire, the way they want to live, own lifestyle type of brand. So that's really what I bring to the table, is being able to leverage technology, merge it with marketing, create a solution that's catered specifically to that individual and that brand. So that's me. So it's life is to be lived. Do what you do best, and then outsource the rest. And then outsource it to me. That'll be great. Or just outsource it so that you just focus on what you do. So that's it in a nutshell. That's what my life is all about. Is just giving your best and doing your best and doing the stuff that you were born to do.
Joselin, I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so very much. I mean, I have to say that, so for anyone for all the people that are listening, I love that I'm a morning person. I'm up at 4:30. I start my day. It's my quiet time of the day, and guaranteed you are always up and out exercising already, going for a walk, going for a run, heading to the gym. And now because the gym's not there, even taking the tours with you, where guaranteed if I'm up, I can take a tour of Boston through your eyes, through your social media. So I thank you for my tours in the morning when I'm not in Boston anymore. And I love the fact that you will always have the same energy. You make me happy, you make me smile. And I love that you're here. So thank you.
Of course, you share the island with me. I'm from the Dominican Republic, from Haiti. We got to keep it good. Keep it together.
Yay,
We got the energy.
Thanks
Yes,
very much.
indeed.
Have a fantastic day. And when this is all over, I really want to do a full circle and see how it is for you because you're busy now, but you may be busier. So maybe I might not find you, but I'm going to try just to see how it is when we're somewhat all open again.
Indeed. I can't wait. I mean, my primary goal is to visit my mom. She's in a home right now. She can't leave, and visitors are kind of frowned upon. So, I mean, that would be the biggest thing that I would want to do right away. So other than that, hanging out with, good friends and, things like that would be the next step after things kind of settle down in a year or two.
I can't wait to see my mom. So I'm with you where, like the holidays, like Easter, the Passover, the Mother's Day, all these different holidays are going past us and we're not able to be with our family. It's a little daunting, but we're going to get through this.
Yeah. What's funny is seeing all the car serenades for graduation and for birthdays. They're taking off blocks. Sometimes police are involved.
I got one for my birthday. I loved it.
Yeah, it was crazy. So that's the only time we actually see crowds is when they're all in cars and they're all honking and they do these little mini parades. So one of the good things is that there is no issues with climate. Climate's kind of reversing back to it, which is good. So we actually get to breathe a little bit more fresh air now.
We do.
So yes, indeed.
Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you soon. I will hug you soon. I will hug you soon.
Yes, indeed. Can't wait.
Bye, love.
Bye-bye.